when you are in a business setting, you're trained. You're trained from day one to hustle. We are trained to sit. We are, appreciated for how calm we are, how likable we are.
And a woman is, she can give birth. We can't do that. So I can't say that we could ever be equal.
No.
But what I feel is we should always have justice.
Like just to throw a few statistics also out there, India is lagging behind how many women are in the workplace. We need more women in the workplace. Bangladesh, they're booming right now because they have much more women in the workplace. So you have dealing with a lot with farmers as such. What's happening in that part of society as well? Because they're the majority of our country, and
We don't bargain when we go to a mall spending money or buying popcorn worth 500 rupees. But when it comes to dhania, we want it for free. West Godavari district, in let's say mango season or tomato season, you'll see produce just thrown on the roads. People are like, take it, because the cost of transportation is higher than what they'll get at the market.
How are women going to be in powerful positions if they can't do a simple thing like going from a taxi driver has to take care of them?
The reason why boards want more women, or a lot of people want us to participate, is
course.
because we are fundamentally different.
Sure.
And what is trying to happen now is that we're trying to be same. We're trying to be like men. And I don't want to be a
I've
man.
experienced
I
that
want
situation.
to be me, and I want to be accepted for being me.
So finally, we've gotten out of our diversity we're exploring our diversity. We've got our first female guest on board, Likitha. Glad to have you on board. So it's very important because, if you look at statistics wise of people who listen to podcasts, 90% are men. And we are always in this little bubble of the world as seen as per our lens, as we need 5 crores in our bank account or so on and so forth. It's very, very important to also see the other 52% of the population. How are they thinking as well? So, Likitha, I know you've accomplished a lot as a single solo female entrepreneur as well. So, definitely, what was the whole experience like? And is it very difficult? What are the extra challenges you had to face through being a girl in this capitalistic environment made by men?
When you say it like that, first of all, thank you for having me. So actually, I think I described myself more like an accidental entrepreneur because I never wanted to be one. It just so happened that my mom was farming and we were getting so much produce, and she was just feeding us, and we were getting irritated with all that produce coming from the farm. So we drove down to the supermarket right next to our house and said, do you want organic produce? And they said yes. And that's how the business started. It was never really something that I thought. And looking back now, as women, like you were saying, just to bring that point out, we don't really think of these things. And I feel really jealous of the current generation. There's so much more enterprising than we ever were. Like all the late 80s, early 90s kids.
It's become much easier.
Yeah, it's not easier, I would say. It's more like the accessibility to dreaming big, or like they have more role models. So it's just that, I think.
I think, firstly, I would say that, welcome on the show, like you said. And first woman to come on our show. He's very excited about this. He's been pushing this. We have to get Likitha. And she's the proper woman entrepreneur. So I was very excited to see you and hear from you. And coming back to the point where you said that people have a lot more dreams. Like the children now have a lot more dreams, and they have a lot more, they're a lot more enterprising. The thing is that they've had a lot more information as well. So I don't know how old you are. Are you a 90s kid or an 80s kid? I have no idea. But I mean, late 90s is where, I would think you would be.
No, she's not. She's my age.
Oh, is she? She's our age. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. So.
Wow, what a compliment! My
I know.
God.
No, I mean, I'm just.
Where's your wedding ring?
Sadly, I'm not wearing my
See,
wedding ring.
this is what it is.
And no, I what?
No,
Being
I'm
toxic.
just kidding.
And he has bought this out. I did not mean it in any of this thing. But what I want to say is that, like, however old you are, it's the information that makes you. So if you're growing up, your education, and when you are more, you have a lot at your disposal. Like kids nowadays have smartphones, which is all the information in the world at your fingertip, right? Like it's so much easier for you to communicate. It's so much easier for you to grow. Before the only growth that we had was probably with our family, what we went to school, and our friends, or if we went on an excursion or we went on a trip somewhere with our families or wherever.
No, but also it has, like, that's very true what you said, but we have to realize that from the late 80s to now, in the last 25 years, the conversation around women has changed. It's changing every year. Like maybe when we were in school, like 2010, 2015, there wasn't this much conversation more about women's safety or like, financial equality and all of that. And now it has come to women empowerment,
That's in India, I feel like, we were talking, but women
No,
empowerment has always
worldwide.
been, women have been working in America, in Europe for generations, like, but
but
not
in leadership roles.
I mean, yes, I definitely agree with that, but the I think outlook also changed.
Yeah.
When you looked at women, you're like, oh, mother, homemaker, wife. Those were the first things that came to you. Now you're like, okay, competition. You look at you, and that's great. And you always see, and that was missing. I think in the beginning it was not like, okay, now I'm going to go out and I'm going to work and I'm going to make all the money, and you look after the home. Like that was the thought process earlier, but now obviously it's not, and it's so great that like women are in the picture and are coming in such strong roles, because for me, women play a very important role in my life. Like my mother played a very, very important role in my life. My father was very, very busy trying to make a living for us. And my mother is who brought me up. So, she is a very important person in my life. My grandmother is a very important person in my life. I didn't have a grandfather. So I've had more women influence in my life more than men. So for me, I've always respected women a little bit, not lesser or more, I would say, but enough. And yeah.
So that's what we're trying to see. Like in the last 10 years, when I say that the younger lot are more enterprising, they have more access to information. We also have more role models. Like when an 80s kid, their biggest role model in India would have been a freedom fighter or a politician or somebody who was there.
Movie heroes. I guess.
Yeah, or somebody like that. But we didn't have representation in leadership roles. We didn't have representation
For
as
example?
like businesswomen
Yes.
or as game changers or people who go out there and start conversations.
Yeah.
And but now when you see the landscape worldwide, I'm not only talking about India, you have people who are changing that, like breaking the glass ceiling. You
Yeah.
have like a women vice president for the first time in the US. These things, as a young child, when you see somebody like you going out there and doing what you want to do,
Yeah.
it gives you that much more confidence,
Of
right?
course.
Like I see a brown woman standing there as the vice president, and I feel that I can do it. And that's what's important.
It's very important.
The feeling
today
of
the
you
women,
can.
like today the women on
Yes, you can.
Yes.
like today, like there's Indra Nui, who was the CEO of Pepsi worldwide, an Indian lady. That was one big thing. Sania Mirza. We didn't have any major
Saina Nehwal.
Sania Nehwal, all of these people, Nirmala Sitharaman, and
Who's the recent boxer who did who won
Mary
the-
Khan.
No, the recent one.
Yeah, the
Someone
recent
else,
one.
but there's so many that they're coming out, and it's good. Definitely, but I think that the debate always comes out for the people who are anti this current trend is that a woman belongs in the home because the home is sacrosanct. Capitalism and going out work, earning money is actually a very dirty job. It's a very long and very physically tough, and it's not a place made for the woman. That's the stand of most.
But that's the thing. Like like what the problem I think arises where, here now we have the industrial revolution, now the tech revolution. So that's made human effort less. So in terms of being built, I think, when women say equality, I would say we're not equal. Like we're physically more stronger, and a woman is, she can give birth. We can't do that. So I can't say that we could ever be equal.
No.
But what I feel is we should always have justice, and there should always be justice. Like, if I'm getting 100 rupees as my pay, so should you.
No, but the conversation has always not been about equality. It's been about equal opportunity.
Yeah.
It's been about equal encouragement.
Right.
Equal
Justice.
validation.
Yeah.
Like we don't get validated
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I could be a billionaire boss lady,
Yeah.
but if, my house is unkempt, it reflects upon me as the homemaker. That's where my validation lies. And that is where the disparity lies, right? So the
Of course.
conversation will not change overnight,
Of course.
but it has started, and that's a good thing.
But the thing is that, see, the thing is that the thought process in the beginning was as such. Now to change that thought process from the older generation, see, the life is a cycle, and the older generation are going to, go in the graves, and then we are going to become old, and our younger generation is going to get older, and that's how life revolves. Now, for our generation, I feel that there is so much more encouragement. There's so much more, there's so many more role models, like you said.
Yeah.
So therefore, later on, I feel it's just a matter of time before women overtake us in everything, because I believe women are smarter.
But Likitha,
I think my wife is way smart.
Just to be a devil's advocate, with more and more women getting into the workplace, feeling empowered, wanting to work, wanting to be CEOs, what happens to the family environment? Do the kids inevitably, will they suffer or something? Do you feel, or it's not really anyone's business to ask?
I don't know if you interact with a lot of people who were born in the late 90s.
Okay.
So these are the people who've already seen working moms. Like most of the women who are like born in the late 70s or even the early 70s have had equal opportunity to work, maybe as teachers, maybe as like small business owners or fashion designers, whatever it might be. And you see them in big cities, right? Like in Bombay or whatever. They are used to it. They are used to their mom getting up in the morning, picking up a bag and going and changing the world. The problem is that we're not used to it.
Yeah.
And you cannot define the narrative for somebody who's 1 year old, because they adapt. Children are the most adaptive beings on the planet, and they are going to survive. If I'm talking about like emotional support or, like just being physically there, I think we have systems. And as women, and I know a lot of working moms, prioritization, time management, it comes naturally.
But
to
isn't
us.
it unfair? Like, because you have this extra workload of
because
the
we
kid,
don't have support.
the food at home,
No,
and
but
all
like
this.
that's where I feel that the workload is now supposed to be shared. Now they have the workload that they have now is to give birth. After birth, you are supposed to share the workload. Right?
It's easier said than done. I look at
Because
my
you're not
wife.
trained. The problem is that men are not trained. Like if I, for example, can clean a house, cook, make my bed, and do everything very effortlessly. And if I had to delegate that to a boy, I know he's going to mess it up because they're not trained.
That's true.
And if you give them enough training when they're children to take care of themselves and teach them basic life skills like cooking and cleaning, I think we'll be better off.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because
No, my wife, and we have a 3-year-old daughter as well. She's also got a business as well where she's designing clothes. But I look at has to deal with the kid, and handling a kid is not something which you can just pawn off to someone else. It's a full-time job. There's no days off. And then at the same time, do your business, which has also got its own stresses. It's like a double whammy for her. Whereas for me, I just have my work stress, and then whatever I contribute, any husband, whatever he can contribute, is still will never be even 20% of what a woman can actually do for the kid.
I mean, see, for me, I don't have a child, so I can't like say, and you do, so you can probably say what it is to have what it is to have children. My brother has children, and I see that his effort comparatively to my sister-in-law's effort is a lot less in terms of children. Like, of course, he comes and spend time with them at 8 o'clock, but
You can't replace a mother.
Yeah, you can't replace a mother.
No matter how much you train the boy.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just.
I think that's where it is, right? It's always about choices. And going back to the conversation about equal opportunity, you have to be able to choose to be a full-time mom, or somebody has to be able to choose to be a full-time dad. You know, like, but there are so many women out there in the world who want to work, who want to do a lot of things, who want to study, who want to go to school, but they are forced to sit at home because the role for her is defined at home. Now that is restricting, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's what we're talking about. It's not like, okay, when my child needs me, am I going to be there or not is not the conversation. Am I allowed not to be there? Is the conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's always about the choice that is taken away from us, the freedom that is taken away from us.
Right, like that's a bad thought process, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like, you know, because people look at it and they think this is the norm and this is how it has to be done. And but to be honest, like, you know, me and my wife, we have a very we're very straight in our relationship, where she is very career oriented and I want her to be. You know, so currently she's off for 15 days traveling for work. And I want her to be that. And we were having this discussion about children and how, you know, it's going to affect her work life, because she's like, I won't be able to travel as much. And I was like, you know, how about I take some of the load? But still, for her, she was like, you may not be able to do what I can do. You know, so she's not even confident to give me the child. You know, saying that, okay, fine, now you handle it, I'm going to go to work.
And it's also, you know, the problem is
how does that, you know, how do we fix that? Like, you know, how
I think it's very different, right? Like for every household, every person, and every personality as well. I mean, maybe you're somebody who's willing to share the load, but there are a lot of people out there who'll be like, quit your job. Right? So there's not a one solution that fits all. But in this situation, I think even we need to trust a little bit. Gender stereotyping is not one-sided.
Correct.
It's two-sided,
yeah, because
right?
there's a lot of these mother-in-laws who are the biggest bane of existence for the new Bahu. You know, that's the problem. We always think it's... No, but that all these TV shows... And it's shocking, you know, like I read newspaper articles sometimes where the mother-in-law is going after the new Bahu for the dowry money. Or they're throwing acid on there. Like, what sort of thing is this? Isn't the women gender supposed to unite together for this sort of thing? But the older they get, the more
No, it's all about a
chauvinist they
change in
get.
conversation, right? Women power dynamics always were at home, like how you have power dynamics at work for men. So we've always been confined to this space where we have to compete with each other. And it's not a good space to be in, especially in family settings and all of that. And that's where this conversation comes from. I think whenever you look at the whole topic of the conversation around women empowerment or the change, you shouldn't look at it like how it is today and not with your eyes. Because trust me, we're very privileged. Like, I am very privileged to be able to do this.
I agree with you.
And we have to look at it in the larger scenario. And there are a lot of people that I've had conversations with who say that, you know, like looking at you, I feel like I can do it. And that gives me so much confidence.
Of course.
Like, there's this founder of this beauty company called Live Tinted, called Deepika Mutyala. She's based out of the US. She's a brown woman who started cosmetics for brown girls. And, you know, growing up around the conversation that only light skinned people are supposed to be beautiful, seeing that gives brown women so much more confidence that they're beautiful as well. So it is not about us, like, having conversations about ourselves, but using our voice to actually make a change for the people who are growing up. I think that's about it.
Look at that. If you had to just pinpoint, what are the current structural obstacles for a woman right now to start a business, to become successful? Is there any law, or is there something which you feel is holding you back, or is it just society pressure?
Actually, I think anybody, especially in a business setting, I'm sure you guys will agree, it's more about just wanting to. That's it.
Wanting to
Wanting to
be,
start.
yeah.
Wanting to be an entrepreneur. Wanting to go out there and solve a problem. That is your biggest hurdle. The minute you have that, I think for women, it's not the laws, it's not, the structures. In fact, very women friendly. There are a lot of like subsidies out
Like
there.
getting a bank loan, is it easy?
It is easy, but again, like, you see that women startups are not funded. Like, if you see the percentage of women startups, women founder startups, and the others, you see that these guys are not very well equipped, first of all, to pitch, to get out there, to network. It all comes with training, right? We're not trained to network. We're not trained to manage money. We're not trained to sell. I was having this conversation with someone, and I was like, for a guy, since the minute he's born, he has to justify his ROI. Like, his parents are like, itna kharcha kya education pe, kya kar rahe ho?
Yeah.
Like, and your in-laws, let's say, would be like, okay, you're going to marry my daughter. Tell
How
me,
much are you earning?
how much are you earning?
At age of 27, 28, like that.
Your
like,
wife is going to be like, I'm going to invest in you. What is my return?
Yeah.
So always at work, at home, you're always selling. So just imagine that when you are in a business setting, you're trained. You're trained from day one to hustle. We are trained to sit. We are, appreciated for how calm we are, how likable we are, how, easy we
You
are
don't
to
cause
talk
drama.
to. Exactly, how drama-free we are. We are not appreciated when we sell ourselves, when we put our foot down.
If a girl is extroverted, she's viewed as a slut. Whereas
Yeah.
a boy, if he's like extroverted in the
Playboy.
field,
Yeah,
playboy,
like-
hey, high five.
Stud.
Stud. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
No, but that's very stereotypical of the world. I think I don't know how that's come about, and that's kind of the thinking. But there is always scope for change. I think human beings are equipped to change, and
Yeah.
with stronger women coming out and stronger women voicing their opinions, of course there is bound to be change, and bound to be looking at it from the perspective that you want us to look at it.
Well, I think what's happened in these last couple of 5-6 years, before we used to keep hearing feminism, feminist movement, in the last 5-6 years, I feel like the word feminist has become a slur. It's not seen in a good way, because I feel it got tied up with the woke movement, and it just became very aggressive, where it became man shaming rather than trying to, hey, let's get together on the same level playing field. I feel.
So
We have to have the girl to explain.
I mean, like, it's a very misunderstood word, and that's why probably even women want to stay away from it, because we don't want to be called difficult.
But then
We
how
don't
does-
want to be
but how
called,
does it work otherwise? Like, you don't want to be called, but you want to be as well. Like, how can
No,
it be?
see, the
how can
thing
it have
is,
both
again,
ways?
I'm going back to that, right? Like our ingrained training and validation.
Yeah.
For example, a guy cannot sit at home. Why? Because you're validated socially for going out there, working and earning. So sitting at home is like, it feels like you're a failure.
Yeah.
For us, it's the other way around.
But if you are you go out and you are successful, will you? I mean, I don't think no one views you as a failure then.
No, but we don't
But to
derive
get to success
validation
has
out of
5-6
it.
years of hard work.
But everybody
Okay,
has
let
to
me
go
ask
through
you a
that.
question.
We won't
Let
walk
me
out of the
ask
house and
you
become successful. no?
Guys,
We
a
also have to go.
question, okay?
Yeah.
Where does your self-worth lie?
What I provide to my family, if my family is being fed well and all, then tension free. I'm providing them financially, I'm providing them with food on the table, I'm providing them with vacations or whatever. I feel that's one of the biggest pressures on the head is to, you can't just be the same income for 5-7 years. You have
No,
to just
your
keep on.
self-worth. I'm not talking
So
about like what
my
is
self-worth
expected.
is basically if the people who are now a part of my family are benefiting because of the work I'm doing, and that pressure will not stop until the day I die.
I am a little different.
Okay.
I feel my self-worth lies with, if I feel I'm doing happy, then I'm happy. Like, I am very me oriented. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care whether anyone else is telling me or not saying or whatever. I don't, if I want to say something, I will. I have always been that person. And if I don't want to say something, I won't. And if I want to do something, I will. And if I don't want to do something, I won't. But that's always me. Like, I'm like, if I'm happy, I'm happy. That's where my self-worth lies. Like, I mean, if someone tells me you're not doing this, I'll be like, yeah, chalo, chalo. No, I don't care so much.
You know where most women's self-worth lies?
No.
In what a good mom they are, in what a good wife they are, and what a good daughter they are. Our self-worth lies in giving to other people.
Yeah.
It is so different. Like
But
we can do
is that in your
so
DNA
much.
or is that in your training? That's a
No,
very different
it
thing.
is. It's a part of it is in our DNA because men, and if you see, like, primarily we forget that we are animals at the end of the day, and the man here is always been the provider, and the women or the female gender has always been the nurturer.
Yeah.
And that's how the species has been designed, right? And that is something that we don't realize, and as our gender roles are shifting, we see that disparity creep in, like how Surya was saying, we can never do what a mom does. Of course you can't, because we are the nurturers.
Yeah.
And you will always find self-worth in being the provider.
Yeah.
Plus, men and women are wired very, very differently.
Yeah,
I
very
feel
extremely.
like women, they make certain decisions which are very emotionally based as well. Like nowadays they're putting rules that your board of directors must have a certain amount of women, because if it's all man based, extroverted, and let's go get it sort
Numbers
of
based.
Numbers based, and you don't realize, hey, listen, we have to take care of our staff.
But that's the thing also. Well, like, why can't a woman be numbers based? What's wrong with that? Like, I get
I
very
think
confused.
I don't know. I feel it's a little bit in the wiring because
Yeah, I mean, it's training. I don't think it's wiring. Like, if you ask me, when I first started, I was very creative, emotional. I was great at marketing and all of that. But when the role demanded it,
Yeah.
that I get like extremely financially savvy, I know my numbers, I learned. And I think all of us, again, this is not a conversation about men and women. It's all about like intention.
Yeah.
Like if women have the intention to do something, they will. If men have the intention to do something, they will.
Yeah.
So there is nothing that will stop you from doing it. But if you ask me what comes naturally to me, effortlessly to me, it is more EQ than IQ, if you know what I mean.
emotional quotient
Yeah,
more than
emotional
intelligence
quotient, but
quotient.
then-
But that's the thing, right? Like, and then you're trying to battle that as well to be. Are you trying to battle it, or you want to be emotional?
I don't know. See, I can't speak for all women here. I can speak for myself.
Yes, as you must.
So for me,
Again, we're not generalizing. Anyone who comes and gives us hate comments saying, "You, how could you say?" Oh, I'm like, we're not generalizing. We have to
no,
make
it's all
certain
like
discussions
personal
of this.
opinions,
Yeah.
right?
These are based out of our
I
own
can feel a
experience.
lot of
Yes.
hate coming towards me. In the current feminist movement, there's a lot of the men are somewhat feeling like, oh, we have to somewhat defend ourselves rather than support the movement. So now it's become men versus women in such an aspect. So thus we have to apologize for being in that situation. Whereas actually there have been a lot of men, if you talk to a lot of men, they're actually very happy. They don't see women as a threat in the workplace. They actually see women as coming in. It's a boon for the work environment as such. Like just to throw a few statistics also out there. India is lagging behind how many women are in the workplace. We need more women in the workplace. Bangladesh, they're booming right now because they have much more women in the workplace, in the very high figures, whereas India is only in the mid-teens sort of figures as the women participation in the workplace. So I think we need more and more women to join the workplace to kickstart our economy. So I don't think the vilifying of men will really help the feminist movement, I feel, in that way.
So I think the whole word itself has been overused and abused in a lot of ways. So we'll stay away from that. But having said that, when you see that men are, victimized or they feel like they've been attacked and all of that, It's just that, men are not used to a lot of this conversation. Like, I can tell you this by personal experience. So I work in agri commodity trade.
Yeah.
Okay, and I look like this. So just imagine me walking into a trading sort of environment. They're only middle-aged men, family businesses. There are zero women, and even if they are there, they're mostly like wives and sisters, and in the family environment. Nobody starts up in agri commodity trade, right?
Right, yeah.
So, and I started up when I was 22. So, and this is me at 33.
Right.
So just like this entire time, what I have realized is the guy on the other side of the table
Yeah.
is not used to me.
Yeah.
That's where the discomfort comes from.
Have you faced any types of situation where a man's been like, I'm not going to take orders from you?
So that, yes, I have. But at the same time, I think where I have thrived in building a relationship is that I have understood the discomfort of the other person. Like, he's not used to me. So I have to, make him comfortable. He's used to seeing some other person who's just like him. And then I realized, a lot of places, people used to mistake me for being a saleswoman. They used to mistake me for being the MC at events. Or they would tell me things like, I think you lost your way. This is not for you. And in the beginning, I would get obviously a little annoyed. I'm like, what is this, And then later, I realized that I'm the most interesting person in the room. Everybody is wondering who this little girl is. And then I started taking advantage of it. I started putting up my hand. I started, introducing myself to the main people. And it worked.
How does it work with negotiation though? You must very big part of business is negotiating with people over pricing and different kinds of things. So when you go and you sit with these middle-aged men and you negotiate and you sit and negotiate, how does that work? Like, how is that for you?
I think for me, it's always been like a game. Okay?
Of
I mean,
course, yeah.
it's always like that in business, right? First, you need to understand who's on the other side. If he is somebody I know, or he or she is somebody I know who's going to be comfortable with me on the negotiating table, I would do it. But if it is not the case, then I would send people.
Right.
I
Okay.
don't, in fact, most of the time, I don't do the negotiation.
Got it.
Because my word is the final word.
Yeah.
And I always want to leave that room of coming back to me. So I don't do it. But if I have to do it, negotiate a deal and close it, I always do it in a corporate setting. I avoid a small setting, mostly because, again, they're not used to me.
Exactly.
So they find it very weird to be talking to this.
Is it difficult to get them in a corporate setting? Because, like you say, like this, the trade that you're in, agro, what was the word?
Agri commodities.
Agri-
Even ITC
agri commodity
is in
trade.
agri commodity.
Yeah, agri
Tata
commodity.
is in agri commodity. Adani is in agri commodity. There's no business in India which has made it big without being an agri commodity trade.
Oh.
So I think.
Can you tell us a little bit about the company you founded?
Yeah.
Like,
So, like the brief bit I said in the beginning of the episode was that it was accidental, but the only mission that my mom and I had was to get good food to people. That was the only thing. So when we started out in 2012, we wanted to get great quality produce to the customer.
Good ingredients.
And at that time, we didn't have a supply chain. We didn't
Right.
have an organic supply chain. So we had to build it. So we went out, spoke to farmers, we got farmer groups, we formed them, we trained them, and we got them to sell to us, process, package, and sell.
Right.
And as obviously the landscape of the business has changed, the market has changed, now we do have a lot more supply than we had then.
Okay.
So my business right now is that we do the entire supply chain, right from production, processing, packaging, marketing, distribution, and retail.
so like, what are the products? Like what, salt?
So we
and-
are in staples. So that is rice, pulses, cereals, spices, millets, oils, sugar, beverages, everything. Everything that you need in an
what
Indian
is the
kitchen.
name of your company?
It's Terra Greens.
Terra Greens.
Yeah, you will find us in Ratnadeep. Yeah, I
Right.
think in Hyderabad, people, my brand recall is more with the logo. So I have to tell people that it's a green color packet with TG written on it. So, that's how I tell them, because the name somehow hasn't stuck on, maybe because it's French.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like, so you have dealing with a lot with farmers as such. What's happening in that part of society as well? Because they're the majority of our country, and I'm very.
What do you mean? What's happening in that?
No, like
No, so-
technologically, are they improving? Are they happy? Have their incomes risen?
So, what basically we want to know
No, I
is
find it so amusing,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
that, Surya described them as so far away from us.
Okay, yeah.
What we don't realize is that whatever we eat,
Yeah.
and we eat a lot, comes from what they do.
Yeah.
So they are not that far away. And we, I think, as a generation, show so much. Like, we don't think about them, like how we don't think about army.
A significant chunk of our society, 60-70% is in farming. All of the countries, America, for example, it's
Surya,
3%,
that is just a
2%.
statistic.
See,
but
the-
if you're
But
looking,
it's a lot. It's,
I
the
understand
thing
that.
is that like what we're trying to understand is there is a picture of a farmer, right? Like you have like a person in a white color dhoti and a t-shirt, and he's in a field, like that's the regular picture that anybody would have, So what we basically want to know is, has it technologically advanced? Is it better or is it worse? Because you are much closer to that. You are dealing with people on a day-to-day basis.
So I do work with a lot of farmers.
Yes.
Honestly, farming, very contrary. Like I said, no business has made it big without being an agri commodity trade. But no farmer has ever made it big.
Right.
It
That's exactly
is
my
at
point.
what
the
is holding them
cost.
back? What is holding them back?
It is the cost. See, at the end of the day, we do not give the price that is due to the farmer. And as a society and as a generation, we value everything more than fresh produce. We don't bargain when we go to a mall spending money or buying popcorn worth 500 rupees. But when it comes to dhania, we want it for free. Like it is. And I know that it has come to a point where we just talk about it and when we leave it. But I speak to farmers. I actually meet them. And it is so sad. It actually gives me anxiety because the average age of a farmer today in India is about 50. They
that's
don't
high.
want their kids to be farmers.
Of course.
All of them are educated and they're doing something else. There is so much migration out of the villages. There is nobody to do any more farming. And to get agriculture labor today is not only expensive, it's impossible. So farmers have been reduced to agricultural labor.
See, like Sadhguru, for example, he had said that we are a household of 12 individuals, and if India if India is reduced to 12 people, so if this is 12 individuals, 8 people are going out there to make the food for these 12 individuals. It does not make sense. In order for this country to get a little bit more of a kickstart, these people have to move in and make into this tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities and start in, of course, there's many other fields, because farming will always, the farmer will always be in a situation as such where it will be the lowest strata of society, rather than the highest strata of society. We need more technology to come in, more larger land holdings, and whenever there's ever been any inkling of a change in the law or to help change that, the farmers instead have actually gone against that. So that's the problem.
But I think it comes to a lot of awareness, education, and they have always been at the receiving end of a lot
So
of.
they see governments in a very skeptical way.
Yes, because they've always been promised things and not given. Or there are a lot of people who come.
Where is the technology going to come from?
And
Like,
also,
who's
I
paying
think
for this technology?
laws, honestly, in
Governments
India.
themselves.
I highly doubt it, because no government has paid for any technology till now. Recently, I think KCR has done very well by doing that irrigation facility for all,
Yeah.
free electricity, free water, and he's done it a lot for the farmers. So
If I as a farmer can get a tractor, I will save so much labor
No,
costs and
but
so.
there is a lot of information available. If you like go and see the calendar of high techs, for example, out of all the expos that are held, 40% will be farmer based.
Oh.
So it is not like the information is not available. It's not like the farmer is an idiot.
So
You know,
then
they
what is the
know.
problem?
The problem is that they do not have the connection. In India, the problem is the supply chain. There is so much produce that goes waste. If you drive along the West Godavari district in, let's say, mango season or tomato season, you'll see produce just thrown on the roads. People are like, take it, because the cost of transportation is higher than what they'll get at the market.
One other major aspect which a lot of men don't understand about women is the fact about safety. One of the top priorities, like I'm a hotelier, so whenever I talk to the front office staff about, we have different protocols for single female travelers when they check into a hotel, and the top priority for a woman is not comfort, it's safety. Is she close to the exit in case someone's knocking or banging on the door? It's very, very important. Like, for example, my own wife, when she's at home, she locks the door in the house.
The safety is, if someone's knocking on the door, you look at the new exit.
No. Like someone's like rigorously banging on the door,
Yeah.
and it is something which is always playing on their heads. Like for me, if I'm in my house, I leave it unlocked, no problem. It's a closed society. But for a woman, it's always playing in her head like, what if someone barges in? And we as a country have horrific statistics when it comes to women's safety.
No,
Delhi
that
is
I
like the
agree
rape capital of the world, and it's shocking. Like how it's very, very difficult. It's a major obstacle for women's growth is the safety.
To feel safe, actually.
To feel
Do-
safe,
Yeah,
yeah.
to feel safe. I think that's what I just wanted to say. It's more a very emotional thing that we do not feel safe when we are alone.
Yeah.
Whether it is safety from physical threat, emotional threat, financial threat, you name it. We are just insecure by ourselves.
Okay.
And I don't know where it stems from, but when it comes to obviously feeling safe, I think we are all trained. Like since we are kids, we have to know our exits, we have to know who we are going with, whether we're going alone, with someone. If I'm traveling, my mom will call me every second till I reach. She
But do-
always wants to know everything.
But do you think that's a good thing? Because you see, you're not letting I mean, if your mom is calling you constantly and you're constantly thinking about exit, so therefore then you will always be insecure about your surrounding, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if anything bad happened to you in your past, so I'm not going to get there. But like, is there an incident you can just say yes or no that has led you to this? Or if there's not, then why would you feel like this? Like, if I mean, like, I
No,
don't.
I think, this is where the whole Me Too movement, when it happened,
Right.
it was so shocking for the world that so many women said Me Too. For us, groping is a part of growing up.
Yeah.
It is as normal
Yeah.
as anything. Like if your guard is down for a second,
Yeah.
you have so many unwanted people even looking at you.
Yeah.
People staring, people coming to try and talk, people coming to touch you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're just trained to be safe.
Right.
Because out there, a girl who doesn't have her guard up is up for grabs. And that's how the society
Like
views
it's so
it.
difficult also for a woman to take an Uber alone. That plays in their head. The other day we were just a girl who's at our place and they say, "Oh, I'll just book an Uber." My wife's like, she can't just go alone in Uber." And then it hits my head like, yeah, of course, because you never know. Even there's a 1% chance, but that 1% is a big risk to take, and that's playing in their heads.
Yeah, but like, see, I'll tell you, this is a thought process that is there in probably Hyderabad or I don't know here, because my wife is from Mumbai. She travels in an auto rickshaw at 3 a.m. and she takes Ubers alone at 4 a.m. She does that
And
still.
that's why Bombay is called safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not women are not unsafe in general. I feel that you are feeling unsafe in a place like Delhi. So I would say no, don't go. But I feel Hyderabad is relatively safe. But what can we do to come to a Bombay? That's what we should always be thinking about, I think, because I know her, and then I have
think
seen
a
her
lot
doing
of people, like
Yeah.
you were talking about Bombay, even Calcutta for that matter, or I grew up in Assam, even Assam, right?
Yeah.
It's very safe because the culture is that the men take pride in keeping their women safe. Like if you go to Bombay, the taxi driver will take pride in leaving that girl to her house at 3 a.m.
But again, see,
unscratched.
this is like an unending problem. Like we are here about, we want to talk to you about women empowerment and women being in powerful positions. But how are we going to be how are women going to be in powerful positions if they can't do a simple thing like going from a taxi driver has to take care of them? So it's
No, because I think it's
on
just
a
about a
grassroots
physical
level.
thing, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not as strong as men.
Yeah,
So if somebody has to physically attack me,
Yeah.
there is no way that I can protect myself unless, like, of course, I'm trained like some sort of a fighter.
Yeah.
And that's just
Correct.
how
So-
we are different physiologically.
Exactly. So that's my concern. So that's always like going to be part of society, because you're thinking about it, and then you're thinking you're already weaker, and in the physical aspect, not in any other way. And that plays on a woman's mindset also to be in the most powerful position, because then in the most powerful position always it's a given that people are wanting to take you down all the time. The higher you go, people are wanting to take you down. So
I don't think
that's
it's
something that
the
comes
most
with.
powerful position. It's the most secure position. It's always that we run towards that safety.
Yeah, there is
Like there's this thing, right? Like you marry a rich guy, or why? Because there's financial security.
Yeah.
Or like you are in a certain
Yeah, but-
family, emotional, social security. It's always about security for women.
Yeah, but still, I mean, like you now you become CEO, and every single person who's like just under the CEO wants to take your job. Like that's the thing, and that's a constant fight that you must have. But the point I'm trying to make is that like we have to get out of this thought process. For us to also be in leadership roles, you must be a leader, and you must learn to fend off any kind of attack that is on you. Whether it's physical, you have to see it. Maybe it's difficult. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But this is so important.
No, I think like what you're trying to say when it comes to the physical part of it, it's almost like me throwing you into a cage with a lion and being like, you have to be physically fit. So that is an unfair situation. And
But
the other
me being
side,
me being with a lion is a 1 in a million chance. But you
for
being with a
us-
man is going to be an everyday
Exactly.
250 times.
Exactly. So it's an impossible situation. The
Problem
support
is you'll
needs to
think
come
of worst
from the
case
man.
scenario, because that's the problem.
But
That's
we are
the-
only thinking of worst case scenario. See, when you are in this.
But see, you can't
situation-
blame them because the statistics go against what you're trying to say. That's
Yeah,
the
but-
problem.
But the statistics may go against. But like if you look at 1800s or 1900s, aren't the statistics better today? Things are getting better, right? Like for women, things are getting better. So it has to only get better now. And the thought process is that women also will have to change the thought process. Not only men. Women must also change.
Of course. That's
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of unlearning that
Yeah.
even I do on a daily basis. There's a lot of social conditioning that I have to shed
Yeah.
for me to have like a good conversation with somebody, because I'm like, no. This is your conditioning talking. You have to look at this logically.
Correct.
So this is the learning, unlearning, relearning process is going to happen for everyone, whether it's a man or a
Must.
woman.
One
It
should be
must,
open.
yeah.
One aspect which a lot of people don't realize is why certain rape cases in certain years actually increased. Because, so back in the day when there was child marriage, so when a man is going through his puberty, when during child marriage days, he was married off by then. So whatever hormones are bubbling in, it's directed towards your wife. Now,
Are you advocating
no,
child marriage?
I'm not advocating child marriage, okay? But I'm just trying to explain how society was back then,
Yeah.
okay? Now, you have a situation where you have these massive cities, and now the labor are coming in. These guys are not married, they're in their early 20s. They're seeing women which they've never seen dress up in their lives, and they're living in terrible conditions, and thus they realize, because a lot of people ask like, why? What is the main cause of rape? Is it mainly because of sexual frustration? No, it's got to do with also power as well. And a lot of these men who are in these situations, who are rapists, they are actually put in a situation that they can't. They've been treated like garbage their entire lives from all different sorts of society. So this is one way where physically they feel that they can grab something which they are not allowed normally.
They can dominate.
Yeah, they can dominate. And that's the screw up with society as well in that particular way.
But
I'm not advocating child marriage. I'm just saying this is
child marriage
what's
and
happened.
making a rapist more.
No,
it's
no,
also
I'm
like
not
a
making
lot of
no, but you have to understand it. You
migration
have to understand the problem before you try and solve it. By just jailing people is not going to.
I understand,
figure
but
that.
like, see, the thing is, I don't believe that. Firstly, I think rape is something that I don't know. I don't know statistics. I may be absolutely wrong. Is it a lot more in rural areas than in urban areas?
We'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
we'll have to check that out.
We'll
So
have to check that out.
if that is the case, like I believe it's more to do with like you're closed in a sexual manner. Like you're not open about your sexuality. Like people like us, we've always been around women. We've dated people, and so we've had that exposure with women. For some people, they haven't. Like they look at it as an object of desire or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I can't think like a.
But you know, the scary part is that the most cases of rape is not from a stranger. It's usually from someone you know as well. So that's one of the problems as well. So there's a lot of. It's a very
I think
deep hole.
It's a very deep like topic because abuse. You're labeling it as rape, but when you talk about it, it's abuse, right? And abuse can be in many different ways. And this is probably the easiest because your victim is weak, and usually they're young. And it's always, like Surya very rightly said, it's more about power than sexual frustration. It's about showing the other person that they have control. And it is sad. It's almost like, it is something that nobody should be subjected to. And awareness and conversation is the only way that you can ever correct it.
Like, yeah.
Because you have to talk to your boys and you have to talk to your girls as well.
Not only boys, but I think they're like sexual education is a very, very important thing. Like there, people don't know. Like you cannot talk to your parents about sex. You people don't talk to their brother or their sister or anybody. Like it's a weird vibe whenever you want to. Like so.
And I was reading, somewhere that in India there's a problem now that sex is such a taboo topic, and for
We are
most
champions
women,
in population.
No, like for
कहाँ से आए? भगवान की देन है.
and then like women are they feel that they're going to somehow be dirty or polluted when they have sex, or they are not allowed to have natural desires, and they're just there to provide for the man.
So that's the
So
thing.
that
like
is becoming like an emotional
education has to be there. Like sex ed class is like mandatory in any other country.
Our biology teacher said sex ed next chapter.
Yeah.
They were like, because
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah. No, but Likitha, as a final question, just to end it on a nicer, lighter note as well, because I think we went very, very deep and as well. Just 2-3 insights of a life as a girl, which a lot of guys don't get.
3 things.
3 things.
Yeah, I think like no guy should try to get a girl. You should see, we are fundamentally different. You're a guy, we're girls. We're always going to, even if we both are put in the same situation, we're going
Likitha
to
says don't try to get girls.
I mean, you know what I meant.
They're not a commodity.
Yes.
I know.
Okay. Wait, stop mansplaining. Stop
On a
mansplaining.
lighter note.
Okay.
Now I lost
Likitha.
my train of thought.
Okay, so girls is not a commodity.
So no, what I meant was, if you put a girl and a guy in the exact same situation, we will react differently.
Of course.
Right? And that is something that, like Surya was saying, that's the reason why boards want more women, or, a lot of people want us to participate, is
course.
because we are fundamentally different.
Sure.
And what is trying to happen now is that we're trying to be same. We're trying to be like men. And I don't want to be a
I've
man.
experienced
I
that
want
situation.
to be me, and I want to be accepted for being me. And when I say something, my male counterpart has to accept and agree. That's what we want, for our voice to be heard. And for nobody to tell us that we need to comply to what a man's standard of the world's, success metric is. We need to be us.
Me?
No, I'm just joking.